Okay, today we're going to talk about telling time in Spanish, and this is like a total formula. You don't really get creative. I don't know why rename is stuck there. You don't get creative with telling time. It's just sort of you learn the formulas and the expressions. And these are going to use two forms of ser that we saw in 1.3, primarily es and son. Okay? Also, keep in mind when we do this, the difference between asking what time is it now and what time is the class, the party, the movie, etc. So the book doesn't do a really good job of like differentiating those two, but always just keep in mind, am I asking the time now or am I asking the time of something else? So to ask the time, you're literally going to go, what hour is it? And so that expression is ¿qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? Almost always, you're going to answer with the formula son las, and then the number of the hour, as long as the hour is between 2 and 12. So here it's 4, we said son las cuatro. If it's 8, you'd say son las ocho. If it's 10, you'd say son las 10. If it is 1 o'clock, you use a slightly different formula and you go es la una. But chances are it's probably going to be 3, 5, 9, whatever. Okay, if you have hours and minutes, it's really easy. You just use e to connect the hour and the minute. So for example, here it is 2:10. So someone off camera asks, ¿Qué hora es? Son las 2:10. Here it's 8:20. Hey, ¿qué hora es? Son las 8:20. One place you can get creative if it is 15 or 30 past the hour. You can still say the word quince, 15, but you could also say cuarto, which means a quarter, or media, which means half. So totally up to you. Someone asks, ¿Qué hora es? Son las 9:30, son las 9:30. Son las 4:15, son las 4:15. Notice how similar cuatro and cuarto look. That's because one is 4 and one is fourth. Okay? Now, we technically stopped at, when we counted, we stopped at 30. And you're like, well, what do I do if it's, 40 after, 50 after? What the book wants you to do is, if it's after 30, count back, okay? So let's say, for example, it is 9:55. If you know the word for 55, you could say son las 9:55, okay? You know the word for, the big number for 30, for 35 or 50 or 55 or whatever. But what the book encourages you to do is, so that previous example I said 9:55. Start with the next hour, which is 10, and instead of connecting your minutes with E, connect with the number of minutes you lack for it to be that hour, and use menos, which we learned was like minus. So for example, I know I'm saying 9:55 and this says 9:50, or this is 8:50, but 9:55, I would say it is 10 minus 5. Son las 10 menos 5. So here it's 8:50. If I know the word for 50, which is 50, I could just say son las 8:50. But what our book encourages us to do, since we technically, officially, haven't learned those big numbers, is to count back. Son las 9 menos 10. Look what happens here when it's 12:45. The next hour makes it 1, which requires us to use our different startup. So when I say it's 1 minus a quarter, I have to say es la una menos cuarto. Okay? So yeah, that's in general how you tell time. Some sort of general expressions is, so Spanish doesn't say AM and PM. Instead, they would add de la mañana, de la tarde, and de la noche to differentiate AM and PM. If it's on the dot, you could add en punto. You don't have to. For example, if you say son las 12, It is 12. You could technically mean noon or midnight, so you could add or just replace it and say es el mediodía. Literally, it's the middle of the day, noon. Or es la medianoche, it's midnight. Now here, this is what I was telling you about. See how it's just sort of like not really, I would have differentiate this. I'd put a big box around this to go. A very similar but different question is not ¿qué hora es?, but ¿a qué hora?, for example, es la clase. Think of this almost like at what time is the class? You answer that in a really similar way. So imagine someone going, what time is our class? And let's just say easy, and our class is at 2. So we get in the habit of, really telling time right now, and that's mostly what we're going to do. But someone goes, "Hey, ¿a qué hora es la clase de español?" And out of habit, you look at you go, "Son las dos." But that's like somebody going, "What time's your class?" And you go, "It's 2 o'clock." Well, that's not the question. So instead, you want to say it is at 2 o'clock. And so instead of saying son las, you would say a las. And if it's at 1, you would say a la una. So a complete sentence would be la clase, or la fiesta, or la whatever, la graduación, whatever, es a las 10. Okay, so just really pay attention to that, because when we practice with this later, we'll go back and forth. So for example, this is telling time now, so I'll just pick an easy one. This one right here, someone asks, "Hey, ¿qué hora es?" And you look at your Timex Ironman watch and you say, "Son las 3:05 de la mañana." Right? But then someone goes, "Hey, I really want to watch this show about nature. Got to make sure I'm sitting in front of the TV. ¿A qué hora es la naturaleza?" At what time is naturaleza? And you look at the TV guide and you go, la naturaleza es a las 7. Okay? And then final sort of note, always pay attention to this type of activity in the book. These are these like open-ended questions. These have a way of coming back on things like compositions and tests and things. So really pay attention to these. They're typically the last activity in a section, but these like open-ended interview type questions are really important. All right, good luck.